Hey everyone out in YouTube land, this is Kuda Slayer again. Trying to do yet another instructional video. Hopefully do a little bit more than instruction, than try to learn how to work with this software program. This is kind of a continuation of what I did in the last video, trying to show you how to work with unusual materials, kind of make your job modeling a little bit easier, and give you a little bit more ability to do slightly more unique presentations. As you see here, what I'm trying to do here is I'm expanding a cloak that I had started on a commander figure for my Space Marine army. Originally what I did was, after putting the arms onto on the body itself, I kind of put a glob of a putty on the back of the figure, and then started kind of in layers build out a cloak using that piece of Teflon there that I have in my hand to kind of give some structure while I try to spread it out and force it to stick to the figure. Right now, when I was recording this video, I was having some problems trying to get the putty to actually stick to the figure itself before I can start shaping it. Normally when I work with putty, I like to work with use a X-Acto knife to kind of force it into the crevices and make it take hold. Nice thing about using an X-Acto knife is that it has a sharp blade, and when the blade is sharp, that it has a very small surface area for the putty to actually take hold on, and also it gives it a nice straight line I can use to cut with to force the putty into the desired shape, either hair, fur, feathers, like in the Bane Blade tank I worked on, or whatever kind of texture I'm working with. Okay, at this point, what I managed to actually get the putty to behave the way I wanted to and stick to the cloak itself. So I'm trying to basically start getting the texture into the putty. With what I'm using is like some rather quick and stabbing motions to kind of cut into the putty and get everything to kind of flow in the same direction. If you ever look at it like an animal in pictures, video, or even on a plush toy or something like that, you'll notice that fur has a particular way how it flows and lay upon top of each other. And so it doesn't hurt to have kind of pictures or anything as modeling reference when you're working with this, give you an idea. But that's kind of one of the wonderful things about using fur as a texture, and especially the great freedom that you have in working with 40K models, is that you have a lot of ancient fantasy styles and clothing, or materials being merged with more futuristic or even or more advanced kind of settings. That's kind of one of the things I love about working with chaos figures, that you can get away with almost anything in chaos when you model. In some cases you can get away with that with the regular Space Marines, or some other other race figures, and not so much like the Tau or Eldar per se, but you kind of understand what I'm saying. Okay. Generally, when I'm working with green stuff like this, what I like to do is I try to do everything in layers or in different phases. When I originally started on this figure, as you can see, I was talking about earlier about using the Teflon, little piece of Teflon there to give the putty something to lay on as I try to shape it out. What I try to do is, with putty, I try to work it in layers. So that main problem is because putty initially, before it cures and hardens, doesn't really have any strength of its own. So that when you put too much putty in one place, or in one, when you start forcing it into one shape or another before it cures, it'll start flowing or sagging down to sagging and start losing the original shapes that you had. So unfortunately, when you have something really large like this cloak or You work on like a large scratch build body, like the one Damien Prince I had in the Chaos Army I have in one of my other videos. You can't really do all this in one go. You have to work on it over a period of several hours, if not days, just to let it build up. But the kind of nice thing about that is that you don't, when you work on it that slowly, you actually have some freedom where you don't have to, rush it all of a sudden and just try to get the job all done in one go. When I like to work with layers and such, what I'll try to do is I'll take the putty and try to make it into like small balls or tendrils to at least help me start the initial shape as I try to get to the get it into the start getting into work into the initial shape where I want it to be. In this case, I'm trying to get it to flare out, as make the cape look like it's actually billowing. That's one important thing to keep in mind is before you start anything, you need to know exactly what kind of fur you're going to be working with. Is this fur all going to be kind of going in one direction? Is this fur that's going to kind of look like large and kind of mangy a little, like it's like a big, really like a woolly mammoth, or even like a werewolf or some other kind of large furry creature? You kind of really have to decide, how, where the fur is going to flow, what direction it's going to flow, how, is it going to have like deep furrows as the fur kind of bunches up, or is it going to be kind of real fine looking, so that you may need to keep in mind, have everything, have smaller lines cut into the fur itself. I like to use the sculpting tool that GW gives out, the name of which I totally forget what's called. It's called the pedal scalpel or spatula or whatever. I like using that to do real deep cuts, kind of make it look like it's it's kind of like rather long, rather fine kind of fur. Or with the scalpel, I like to use use that to do that's like real short bristle or fur that it's all that kind of flows all more as one large mass and kind of one random scraggly mangy mass. Let's see. Right here I'm trying to get the fur that kind of flows over and comes to the front of the figure, kind of get it back into the crevice to kind of hide the joint lines. And like I was saying earlier in the other video, kind of one of the nice things about using a small piece of Teflon like that I have is it will give the putty something to actually bond, kind of use as structure and support. And once it dries and hardens, you can just take that the Teflon off and don't worry about ripping away any putty or anything. After working with a figure like this, and when I'm done with the cloak, what I'll do is I'll take a smaller bit of putty and kind of roll it under the cloak itself, to kind of fill in any gaps that may be there, to kind of give it a little bit more smoother finish. But most of the time, with these two simple tools, the X-Acto knife and the sculpting tool, you can vary with those two simple tools can give you a lot of variation in style of fur and how you want to carve it into.